the secret to long-term business success isn't just about faster growth or bigger market shares, but today it's about the ability to last and sustain yourself in an extremely complex, continuously changing environment. While AI is disrupting the worker, and the workplace, how can leaders harness cutting edge technologies and tools to design businesses that don't just survive change, but actually are able to shape it for the rest of the industry and for the rest of the organization? A very warm welcome to all of you and welcome to the next edition of the Learning Curve. My name is Dr. Ritwik Mishra. I'm the Chief Client Officer at KNOLSKAPE. And today we are exploring a slightly different topic on designing for durability, embedding sustainability into the core of business strategy. It's a conversation moving beyond ESG checkboxes to create lasting value for both business as well as for society. My guest today, Professor Knut Haanaes, is the London Chair Professor of Sustainability at IMD, Co-Director of Leading Sustainable Business Transformation and Driving Sustainability from Boardroom Programs, and one of the world's leading voices on strategy, innovation, and sustainable leadership. He has worked with organizations across industries and geographies, helping them bridge bold ambition on ESG and sustainability with practical action. Together, we will try and unpack how forward-thinking companies are reimagining value creation while circular design and regenerative strategies are changing the rules of competition, and how can AI, in midst of all of this, be a catalyst for systemic change. Professor Haanaes, a very warm welcome to you on this edition of the Learning Curve.
Thank you very much, and wow, what a great introduction. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Professor, we have a ritual on this podcast before we get into the core set of questions. We do have a rapid fire section for you. If you're ready for it, I can start with questions. One word to describe the role of AI in sustainability.
Friend over time.
Oh, very nice. That's something I hadn't thought about, but really good to hear that. Most overused buzzword in sustainability today.
ESG.
The sustainability KPI you would love every CEO to track.
Renewal.
Yeah, nice. I was thinking about carbon footprint. I don't know where that is.
I can do that too. But I think I think every company should be thinking about how they renew themselves. So that feels really important.
True. What will matter more in 2030? Carbon footprint or data footprint?
2030, on average across companies, it will be for companies, data footprint, for society, carbon footprint.
Carbon footprint. Yeah, makes sense. And I think somewhere on this topic is also the fact that with AI, you have so much getting invested in the creation of data storage units, which require a lot of resources from the environment in order to cool the towers, etc. And that's really impacting the carbon footprint as well. So I think both of these go hand in hand.
Totally.
Your biggest hope, Professor, for the next generation of business leaders?
That they're able to combine AI and sustainability. So they're able to find the common path and not separate paths.
Yeah, I think that's a great one. And I think I think a lot of organizations are still grappling with what to do with AI. But very soon they've got to start thinking about how do some of these things like compliance, ESG, sorry, that's a buzzword that you're not very fond of, but
that's okay.
Sustainability and AI all come together to really make an impact for the organization. So
I agree.
Thank you so much, Professor, for indulging in that. I'm going to move us into the main segment of the podcast. Like I mentioned at the introduction, you hold the London Chair of Sustainability at IMD and are also the co-director of two important programs, Leading Sustainable Business Transformation and driving sustainability from the boardroom. Could you start by describing what designing for durability means in today's business context, and how does it transcend traditional ESG compliance?
Yeah, so I think durability is a great term because durability has to do with surviving, succeeding over the long term. And to do that, we can't just stay the same. We have to, as I said, renew ourselves. We have to explore new solutions. We have to learn new things, etc. The
Right,
best way to design for durability is to help companies find the balance between doing what they know really well today, which is efficiency, and but it's also capabilities,
right.
and exploring new solutions for tomorrow. Finding it's not one, it's not the other, but finding that balance, I think that's the way to, I guess, design for durability.
True. And I think as they are exploring solutions for tomorrow, keeping climate in mind, keeping sustainability in mind becomes critical and important because that's an important environmental factor to be considered.
Yeah, because the thing about climate is it has two challenges. The longer the time perspective, the more important it gets,
Right,
right?
right,
And the more we take a macro perspective, the more important it gets. So that means if we only think about ourselves with a short term perspective, it doesn't matter so much. But if we take a longer perspective, it matters. If we take a bigger perspective, it matters. And that's the hook, that's the challenge, that's the
right.
job we have to work on climate, I think.
And I think somewhere organizations may also be thinking about the cost of doing it, right?
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line where the cost becomes prohibitive for them to start thinking about durability as well?
Yeah, totally, totally. And but there's one little thing about that cost picture, which is there's also a cost to not doing it.
Yeah,
So
that's
we
very
have to balance the cost of doing it
right.
with the balance of cost of not doing it, and
Right.
then we have to find the right path.
Well,
Not doing anything is costly as well. No?
I think that's very well put, Professor. Thank you for that. Across your work with global organizations, what
Yeah.
common best practices have you observed when it comes to embedding sustainability into their core business strategy, whether it's circular design, shared value platforms, regenerative models, etc.? And how does IMD help leaders implement and scale these kind of transformations?
Yeah. So I think first of all, I mean, just fundamentally, sustainability is something that where strategy and leadership comes together.
Right,
Strategy is not enough, leadership is not enough. It really is about combining because you really need both components. And then maybe the one thing that's most important, I think, is understanding how all this becomes business. So being able to do the business case, being able to think about kind of exactly as you said, where do our costs prohibitive? Where are the revenue possibilities? Where can we be smart about building the business for tomorrow, etc. For
right.
me, that's the essence. If you get that right, you might not do everything today, but you will move in the right direction, and that's what I, in general, what I'm looking for.
Right. And I think that pushes organizations, Professor, to be a lot more bolder in taking some risks, being agile in pivoting their business models, maybe,
Yeah.
not following just the traditional way of doing business. Have you seen any examples in your work where you've seen businesses being able to pivot, being agile with this in consideration?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think I've seen lots of good examples. I see two kinds of examples. One is the example where companies come at this from a kind of a little bit of a top-down, developing technologies and
Right,
new services, solutions, etc. And there are lots of good examples. I mean, everybody talks often about the same companies, Schneider Electric, etc. And they're good examples.
right,
And then there's another kind of sustainability, which is more bottom up, dealing with scarcity, dealing with lack of water, dealing with pollution, waste, etc., which is a totally different kind of. It
right,
also requires smartness, thinking, etc. but it comes from a different place, and there are great examples there as well. I remember for a while I loved, and I still do, as the concept of, for example, Jain irrigation, which is
Mm,
all about being smart about water, and in some parts of the world that's critically important, more and more, by the way. Other parts, that's not the challenge, and yeah, I
right,
think it's okay to think about those two, kind of the top down sustainability, the
right.
bottom up, and we need both, and they're equally impressive and important, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're right. I think we are seeing a shift where societies, not-for-profit organizations, are also starting to do their bit in order to preserve the climate, in order to make an impact on
Yeah.
sustainability. And I think all of those bits, whether it's a large organization doing it or a small society doing it, is making an impact.
Yes,
Uh,
absolutely.
and I think it's coming in from a lot of transparency. It's coming in from a lot of awareness about the potential impact. I mean, we are all dealing with climate change in our lives. We are all seeing and reading the news about the conditions across the globe with extreme temperatures, floods, etc., shaping up. And I think that's really driving people to take action.
Yes, it is driving people to take action, but I have to say this is maybe the one thing that surprises me the most, and I include myself as everybody else, but you could say that usually we act forcefully in the face of disaster.
That's true. That's true.
But on climate, we're doing it less than I would have expected, and I mean, that's the thing that we need to figure out, because
Okay.
now we shouldn't wait for more disasters than what we already have, but unfortunately we will see more disasters, and I'm just wondering, when do we act forcefully at scale on climate, because I just haven't seen that.
And what do you think, Professor, is driving that inertia? Why is there lack of action?
I think it's like, climate is a little bit like, first of all, I'd love it to be fixed, but I'd like others to do it.
Mm,
Second of all, finding the solutions takes a long time, so it's not a quick fix, etc. Third, we have other priorities in the short term, so that's the little bit the problem here. But I mean, listen, we will have to step up to this,
yeah,
and not only adapt to climate change, but also turn the corner. We will.
yeah. You're right. And I think a lot of it is also, sorry to say this, but dependent on the governments and their policies
Absolutely.
and their
Sure.
actions. And I think a lot of the governments right now are focused on just managing the geopolitical situation. Uh,
Absolutely.
and
And I think this will change over time. But
right,
until now, I don't think climate has ever been top of the agenda. And I don't, and for good reasons, in a way. We have so many other priorities, security,
right, right.
jobs, all of that. But unfortunately, I think in our lifetimes, we will unfortunately need to see it as top of the agenda,
Yeah.
not because we want to, actually because we don't want to.
Yeah, and so it's also surprising to see that there are still skeptics on climate, uh,
Yeah,
within the government as well. And you know, for nations to move this, you'll have to have all the politics aside and focus on creating right policies, not
yeah,
just for the climate, but also for organizations that are spearheading these campaigns on climate to promote them as well. So.
yeah. But we also have to recognize that we can't be uh, one-dimensional about this. We can't just fix climate. I mean, there are other very big priorities. So it's
That's true.
also figuring out how to be smart about kind of dealing with climate as part of many priorities. And I think we will get there, but I'm not sure we're not fully there yet.
Yeah,
You know.
no, that's true. That's true. I think it's a journey, and I'm going to go to our next question here around when you look at forward-thinking companies, they're using AI not just for efficiency but also for systemic change, right?
Yeah.
Optimizing supply chains, predicting environmental risk, accelerating circular models. What are some standout examples you have seen where AI has been used by organizations to for sustainability impact?
Yeah, I think AI will do so many things. So right now it's doing some things, and it will do many more things over time. So, but I think AI until now has been great for companies that work on waste, for example, because you can be much smarter about waste. Gradually, you can be smarter about recycling as well, but recycling is more difficult because then it's product design. Waste is just dealing with it, dealing with the waste, etc. But I also think that the AI, and we're starting to see that, has huge impact in areas like health, right?
Mm.
Global health. So I'm interested in antibiotic resistance, for example.
Mm.
And I think
Yeah.
I can be a lot more optimistic about the future of antibiotics
Yeah.
with AI than without AI. So that's just one example, but it's for me, it's sustainability. Health is
Yeah.
sustainability.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And it's an area. But I really think we're just in the beginning. We have cool tools and we're smart about it, etc. But we're just learning and just
Right.
maybe in the beginning right now.
Right. Right. No, you're true. So, Professor, we do run a lot of roundtables on AI. And in the last 3 years, while there's been a little bit more movement towards using AI in a more productive manner, in a more um, um, serious manner, there is still a lot of conversations around using AI for chatbots, search engines, right?
Yeah.
We haven't really seen that big leap uh,
No.
where AI in a regular company has been used for outstanding product development or design. And so you're right that in a sense it's a journey, and we are yet to see the big impact of AI.
Yeah. But we will.
We will,
We will.
absolutely.
That's the thing, you know. So I mean, we're talking very short time perspectives here, right? It's just a few years where it's been mainstream, and wow, look at how much investment, learning,
Absolutely.
experimentation, etc. So we will. We
Yeah.
will.
You'll be very surprised, Professor, to, I don't know if you've heard this. Goldman Sachs, one of the analysts from Goldman Sachs, wrote a paper very recently asking whether AI is a shiny object, right?
Yeah.
Because none of the big companies are saying that it is a meaningful driver of revenue for them. And
Yeah.
so they are asking whether it's the end of the road for AI already.
Yeah, and yeah, and I think we need to have all perspectives on AI. But from my perspective, I think AI is an incredibly powerful tool that's just going to keep becoming more powerful. So
Right,
it's
right.
more than a shining object, of course. But I think where I really think there is something is right now, since it's so unclear, we're all looking at each other and doing what others are doing. So in a way where it's difficult to be strategic about AI,
Right.
except for the companies developing it. For them, it's a totally different, game.
Yeah. I think one of the big areas AI can help us is also with the predictive analysis of
Yeah.
climate and the future, and then having those actions being taken upfront in order to avoid the catastrophic
Yeah.
implications of not doing
Yes.
anything.
Yeah. So AI will help us on everything that has to do with adapting to climate, right? So which is incredibly important. Where will we have natural catastrophes? How do we react? How do we warn? All of those things. For
Right.
that, AI is incredibly powerful.
Absolutely.
For solving climate, I don't think we can take ourselves out of the equation.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
requires decisions, and it
Absolutely.
requires discipline, and it actually requires humans.
Absolutely. So that's a promising area. We've always heard about AI replacing humans. It's great to hear your perspective that this is one space at least where
Yeah,
humans have their place and even
yeah,
in the future. Professor, you've written that sustainable transformation is more than strategy. It's a
yeah.
test of leadership. What qualities or mindsets must leaders cultivate to drive systemic change while ensuring competitive advantage. And could you share more about IMD's programs that support leaders in developing some of those capabilities in a meaningful and also an actionable way?
Yeah. Wow, that's a great question. So let me start by just saying, I think, and I kind of mentioned it earlier on as well. I think sustainability, but many other challenges requires the head, so strategic,
Right?
the heart, leadership, and the hands, doing things. And I think we have to work on all three. So if we want sustainable transformation, we need all three. And then if we go into leadership, I think there's something particular about sustainability because it's an externality. I'm talking climate particularly, right?
Right.
It's an externality, meaning that it's not enough just what we do. We have to do things in bigger systems and collaborations, etc. And that means that in addition to being kind of great leaders and, with authority in the organization, allocating resources and doing the things we know as organizational leaders, I think we also have to be system leaders, meaning able to work with others, able to um, participate and lead, shape the agenda together, even if we don't have exactly the same incentives and same objectives. So we have to find solutions together. And that great sustainability leaders are, I think, great at running the organization, but they're also great at working in bigger collaborations. It's a
Right.
different thing, I think.
Right.
You need to be both. It's not one or the other. You need to be a system leader. You need see the full system. You need to, you need to mobilize resources, even if they're not yours.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think,
Soft power,
yeah, yeah. I think we saw some example of this with the way Apple went around enforcing ESG requirements on all their vendors. And so, while as an organization, you are taking that leadership role and you're thinking it from a economic perspective and ensuring that all the smaller entities that are collaborating with you are also
yeah,
following certain practices and following certain compliance requirements on climate. And
yeah.
I think that's the way that you have this multifold effect then in the system.
Yeah, and I think I teach students and I tell them, in the future, you need to be both able to work in these bigger collaborations and with the partners, etc., and to kind of run your organization.
Right.
One is not enough. It's really about doing both, and it's
Right.
not only in sustainability. It's just that if we want to deal with big systems challenges like climate, that is required.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
It's
You
really
can't
required.
separate out the two.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the word that's coming to my mind, Professor, is just being responsible. You like we are talking about several factors. You've got climate, you've got sustainability, you've got water, you've got energy, you've
Yeah.
got carbon footprint, all of that. And sometimes it just becomes very confusing, maybe for organizations, on how do you align your business strategy and how do you align to some of these requirements. Uh,
Mm.
and so, just being a good citizen, just being a good, responsible organization can be a good starting point for
I
companies.
agree. I agree. But I think I totally agree with you. I think being responsible is a much more important thing to take into account than just double clicking on sustainability, etc. But I think the thing about being responsible is you then need to take the time perspective into account. If you have a really short time perspective,
Right, right.
your incentives are to maybe not be irresponsible, but not necessarily take responsibility, right?
True,
So I think it has
true,
to do with being able to see the longer term and not just the shorter term, and
true,
that's really a skill. I think
true.
that's something we learn from seeing others who are good at it, working with people who have that perspective. It's also, by the way, good business.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not just good sustainability.
You're
I
right.
don't think it should be called good sustainability.
You're
It's
right.
really about building good businesses, I think,
You're right. You're right. I think if you have got to maintain your competitive differentiator, you have to have that strategic long term thinking whether it's about technology, tools, people, processes, you need to have that long-term thinking.
Yeah.
And I think I really like the way you are adding this whole dimension on sustainability also in the long-term perspective, that you've got to be thinking long-term, both from an org and a climate
Yeah,
perspective.
I think so. Because the thing is, if you have a very short-term perspective, you don't care about climate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But the
Absolutely.
longer you time perspective, the more you
Right.
care about it because it will influence so much. So that's just one example, I think.
Yeah. And it starts to actually make an impact on your bottom line, right? I mean,
Mhm.
you'll have to start thinking about additional cost, etc., and that impacts your bottom line. So you've got to start thinking long term when you're
Yes,
thinking about climate.
yes, I agree.
Um, Professor, in the journey from pilot to core business, what role do CEOs and full-time sustainability champions play in embedding purpose into strategy and culture in the organization?
So purpose. I think purpose is like a big term, right? So purpose. There is purpose, and then there's purpose that is just invented in a way.
Mm, mm,
And purpose, I guess, when it works, it's something we don't need to talk about. It's something
true.
that people strongly feel, right? So the role leaders and CEOs have in this is to be role models. It's
Mm,
not to write like a glossy brochure and talk about it in presentations, etc. It's actually, do they live the change? Do they care about the things that are about this sustainable, whatever we call it, transformation? Do we care about the things that reduce waste, increase circularity? Are we engaged in it ourselves, or is it just something that we expect others to do? So I think on this, maybe on everything actually, but on
yeah,
this,
yeah,
leadership is being a role model. It's
yeah.
actually living the change, not kind of just talking about it. It's not talking, it's doing.
Action. Yeah,
Action. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. I think you're right. It's by showing by doing,
Yes.
and establishing that role model like you're talking about. Professor,
I just want to give you one illustration here,
yeah, yeah,
and it's just an image, okay? So maybe sustainability for many years, at least a decade until a few years ago, sustainability was a little bit like the dolphin. So the
okay,
dolphin jumps and creates noise, and look at me, how cute, how fancy, how clever, how smart, etc. I think, and that served the purpose. We all got attention to sustainability.
right,
But now it's the whale. Now it's under the water, moving ahead,
right,
not taking too much attention, being focused about it, doing it. And
right,
I think the time has just changed.
yeah,
We're in the time of the whale. It's the doing and not the talking, I
yeah,
think.
yeah. And hopefully it won't turn into a shark where it just devours all of us.
Yeah, yeah. The sharks have always been around in a way. I mean, sometimes we are. Sometimes the sharks are nice people, not doing great things as well. So
True, true, true.
yeah,
Professor IMD recently launched a playbook authored by
yeah,
over 40 faculties, including yourself, offering practical guidance for business leaders. How does this leading the sustainable business transformation playbook serve executives and leaders who are seeking real world solutions to embed durability into their strategy?
yeah. So for me, the difference between a book and a playbook is that a playbook, it's like recipes.
Hmm.
You can read one chapter, one part, and it can be useful.
Right,
Whereas a book, you kind of need to read it. That's the point of a book. But a playbook is chapters, and we wanted it to be a playbook because all leaders don't have the same challenge. For some, it's about linking sustainability to marketing. For others, it's about logistics. For some, it's about the stakeholders. For some, it's about the reporting. So we wanted it to be a book of recipes
hmm.
so that at least we can share what we think is important. And then we know that not every recipe is perfect for every company. That's not the point, but at least
Right,
it maybe takes you from here to here and it helps you. And then you can find your solution. So I think we tried to make a book of recipes,
Yeah.
basically, to make it a bit practical, share our perspective humbly because we don't have all the answers, and not forcing people to read the whole book because
Yeah.
most of us don't anyway.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's at least bringing in some level of clarity for organizations and leaders
yeah,
on, what.
yeah, clarity, some actions they can take,
Right.
reducing complexity, trying to make it as practical as possible as well.
Yeah. Very nice. Um, Professor, with increasing regulatory mandates, and I think this is really becoming a big topic nowadays,
Yeah.
like EU's CSRD and expectations for net zero planning and investor pressure, how can companies turn compliance into a competitive advantage?
Um, so I think first of all, I believe in reporting, but sometimes we make reporting too complex.
Right.
So that's a big challenge right there. I mean, reporting good, too much reporting bad because it's costly, it creates complexity. It's only for the big ones with resources, and I mean, it also if it's too complex, it creates a little bit this counter.
Hmm.
People
Yeah.
don't want it, right?
Don't
Then
want to do it.
suddenly you might believe in it, but you don't want it. So reporting is good, but to a certain point. I think in the EU we went too far. We have to retract. It's not. It's really not good. But
Right.
it's built on a good. It's built on a good basic idea, right?
Right.
The idea of
Right.
reporting is good. And then reporting for me. So I'll use this is Henry Mintzberg, 100 years ago, not 100, but 50 years ago. He wrote, "Nobody ever won a tennis match by watching the scoreboard."
That's true. Yeah.
So you don't win in sustainability by reporting,
Mm.
but reporting can help you win in this in tennis, right? It can
Mm.
help you win in sustainability because you know how are we compared to our competitors? Where are they better? Where are we better? How
Right.
are we compared to last year? What is it? It helps you even do the business case, etc. So I believe in reporting, but it has to be pragmatic and
Mm.
work with business. And then once you have that, it's not the answer. It's just it just helps. It's a means and not an end in a way.
Right. Right.
It can help us, and then we have to think like we do on everything else. Try to be smart, right? Try to find value. Try to serve customers. Try to create
Right.
innovations, etc. You know.
Right. I think somewhere that alignment with business strategy becomes critical. And I
Yep.
think, reporting can be one mechanism through which we are
Yes.
bridging both the fields of climate sustainability and profitability.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? I think I mentioned kind of the EU. I think the EU has to does have to backpedal and make it simpler, etc. The global standard IFRS is good.
Yeah.
It's not that complicated and it's shared across countries, etc. So for me, I would have loved that to be the global standard. You know, it's the standard in most countries. It links
Right.
to ordinary accounting reporting, and that's, in my opinion, what it should be. You know.
No, thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm going to get us into the last question now, Professor. Looking ahead, what gives you optimism for business roles in creating durable, future proof value? And what keeps you grounded in the realities companies must overcome?
I mean, first of all, I always ask people, are they optimistic or pessimistic? And of course, what usually people say is one day I'm optimistic, and then a couple of days I'm pessimistic, and it's like that, right? But this is not something which is going one way because
Mm.
the world. The thing about the world is we need more energy and less carbon, but
Mm.
it's difficult to get more energy and
Yeah.
less carbon. So we're in this. We got to fix this, right?
Right.
But we will fix it over time. We'll fix it later than we should, but we'll fix
Right.
it over time.
Right.
You know, and what gives me kind of what makes me optimistic is that I think we have most of the solutions in hand. We have the
Mm.
technologies, we have the renewables coming up and becoming kind of mainstream and at scale, etc. Often built by China, by the way.
All right.
Uh, and we're learning good practices as well. So that makes me optimistic. What's a bit frustrating is that it takes a long time, but there's no surprise to that. It of course kind of has to.
Yeah.
But the problem with climate is that it hurts those who are not the problem the most.
Yeah.
That's the really big problem here,
That's
right?
true.
So those who suffer the most are not the ones who are the most to blame on this. On the contrary, really.
Yeah.
And that's why, if we could, the faster the better. But I mean, it just
At least there's light at the end of the tunnel, Professor. And
yeah, there is. Even if many people are pessimistic now and backlash, etc., I think the awareness is high and the knowledge and the
absolutely
abilities as well, and that is a ground for being somewhat optimistic as well.
you're right. You're right. So I think on that note of optimism and the fact that we have some real intent and there's awareness and people are moving and helping organizations and people, societies, communities towards a sustainable future. I think we are in good hands and hopefully we'll reach there faster than later. But Professor, thank you so much. A great topic. We can continue talking about this, but I'm sure our listeners are taking away some very good points that
I
we've
hope
heard
so.
today. Thank you again for your time, and we will hope to see our listeners on another episode of The Learning Curve. Thank you so much.
It was really my pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you.